in relation, determination in relations to the infiltration and inflow project of the Portland Pomfret Dunkirk Sewer District. The determination was, resolution was passed in 22, and this is just reaffirming it as we move on in the project, hopefully.
All right, thank you. Any questions, comments, reactions, format on proposed resolution number 4, affirmation of determination in relation to the reduction of infiltration and inflow of the Portland Pomfret Dunkirk Sewer District? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, carried. Thank you very much. Number 5, Matt?
This is authorizing the application for the New York State Controller in relations to the repair and replacement of the apparatus and equipment of the Portland Pomfret Dunkirk Sewer District. And this is to authorize Pierre to sign it and submit it. We have to get approval from the state controller because we are borrowing money for the project, and we need their blessing.
All right, very good. That information is listed there as well. Thank you for that. Questions, comments, concerns for Matt? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed and carried. Matt, thank you very much. Before you leave, you are not having to do anything with the late resolutions, I believe. Is that correct? Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you for moving it.
Sure, sure. All right, then we are just going to go back to our regular agenda. Then we're going to hit 3 of the late resolutions, and then 1 later on at the presentation regarding the airport in Dunkirk. So we will back to number 1 for the committee. The proposed resolution confirm appointment and reappointments for the Parks Commission. I don't know that there is, but is there anybody here to speak to those at all? For the Parks Committee? Okay, those names are listed there. The new appointments and the reappointments, 1 new appointment and 5 reappointments. Questions, comments, concerns on that list, committee? If not, all approve by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed and carried. Great. We're making good time. I'm sure that's going to continue all meeting long. We are at item number 2, proposed resolution amend 2024 budget for buildings and ground. Also in our packets. Welcome.
How are you?
Good, good. Hey, thanks for coming. Name and title, please.
Josh Rothwell, Assistant Deputy Director of Public Facilities, Buildings and Grounds. This resolution here is just to put money in our working budget to do some security upgrades to the HRC building. We're having or have had some issues with people wandering the building in private public areas, but they're employee areas. So this project, this funding is going to add additional scramble paths for security, and it's going to also add some additional doorways at the end of the hallways. As you enter the Board of Elections entrance, there'll be a door added there with a scramble pad, and you'd have to use that to get down the private hallway. And then there'll be another one at that end too. The goal here is to try to get at some point eventually down the road make only one accessible entrance to the building, and this is just part of that.
Okay, very good. Questions, comments, concerns on that? So you say this is more of a phase 1?
Yeah, it kind of is it's going to fall in line with what we've been working on with the parking lots and the lack of parking around here. And we're gonna, the goal is to funnel everybody in, is going to be eventually to funnel everyone in through one door, aside from where they enter to the DMV. So obviously with the DMV, you don't want to have to go, through the security and wait in line or whatever to go in and forget something, come back out and back and forth. But as far as like the areas where the public can get to work areas, that's what we're trying to eliminate. So by adding those few doors and some scrambled pads, we've had directors in the HRC building have to call sheriffs later in the hours. Someone gets in, goes in the break room, takes a nap, wakes up. Now the building's locked, but they're in the building. So we're trying to eliminate some of that stuff. Employee safety as well as public safety.
Okay, very good. Anything else? Questions, comments, concerns? Josh, thank you very much. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Appreciate you being here for that. Number 3 on our agenda, amend the 2023 capital project account for large equipment. Hey, Tim, give us your name and
Hi, Tim
For the
Carr,
record?
Director of Public Facilities. This is basically a transfer. This is from equipment sales from the auction that we have once or twice a year. And this is basically just a transfer so that we can access his accounts. And I believe, Jen, doesn't that have to be done by a certain date, correct? Yeah, that's why we're doing that now. Otherwise, I believe it goes back into the general fund, so that's why we wanted to get it transferred so we can access that money.
very good, thank you. I believe I know the answer to this. This was different than what you talked about last month
Yeah,
as far as
yes.
possible new.
This is revenue that we've received, that we've already sold equipment for,
Mhm.
that's in our yeah.
Okay, all right, very good. We have standard questions, comments, concerns on this?
Do we, I assume we have this kind of money already spent,
In the process, yes,
so you've got equipment that
yes,
you're
that we're gonna replace
working on
this year.
purchasing? Okay.
Yep,
I'd hate to see money just sit somewhere.
no, it's gonna get,
Is this a standard amount, like in comparison
it just
to
depends every
past
year,
years?
on what, with the
Okay.
auction, what we sell and what we get rid of.
Okay,
And anytime we have that auction, whether it be highway, buildings and grounds, emergency services, that money goes back to that department. It doesn't all come to the DPF. So this money here is just DPF equipment.
okay.
Where other equipment like buildings and grounds, if they sell a mower or something, that money goes back to them.
When you sell, do you put a reserve on?
We can, that's all
Okay.
through Auctions International.
Do we typically, or no?
No, I
We're
don't-
just,
yeah,
be done with it?
yeah. It's
Okay.
been very good to us, to the county, and also it was, when I used it at the town too, it worked out very well.
Okay, okay.
Who do you typically sell to, like other towns or municipalities or
It goes-
individuals? Or
Believe it or not, Tom, it goes all over the world.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, there's companies that'll buy it and they'll ship it overseas and, it can go anywhere. We typically, if we have something that we would like to maybe see stay inside the county, if ever there's a town or a village that is looking for something and we may be getting rid of something, we can sell that to them directly on an agreed price and try to help out the local municipalities also. It doesn't have to go through that auction process,
Yeah.
but we've had good luck with it.
Good.
Anything else for Tim? All right, thank you very much. All in favor of, that proposed resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed and carried. Thank you, Tim. Very much. Okay, jumping back down to our agenda, I'm gonna apologize if I get any of this now. My chicken scratch is a mess now. So we have we're going to do 3 late resolutions before our first presentation. So my understanding is the first 2 are somewhat related to each other. Notice of intent to serve as a lead agency for the North Chautauqua County Water District Phase 3, and authorizing public hearing regarding third modification of map and plan for improvements in the North Chautauqua County Water District. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong if those are not related to each other, but do we have anybody here to speak to these? Great.
Chairman and committee members. I'm Kathy Tampio. I'm financial analyst for the legislature, but I also serve as administrative coordinator for the Northern Chautauqua County Water District. So, what these two resolutions your chairman spoke about, the North Chautauqua County Water District is currently in the final phase of construction of our Phase 2 project to implement the regional water system in Northern Chautauqua County. The board of the district got together and have decided to pursue a Phase 3 project, which will replace and construct a couple of water main that are instrumental to our system. In addition, several master meters, which will serve to be able to isolate each municipality so that the water district can bill for water to each municipality instead of to our sole customer at this point, which is CBI Waterworks. As you may recall, with the Office of the State Controller's audit, their large concern was the backlog of payments due from CBI, and this master meter project will help alleviate that issue. So the first one, the seeker notice, establishing the county as lead agency for the seeker documents that are required to start this process. And it lists all the items on the resolution that'll be replaced or implemented. And then our engineering firm will complete the form, which will be available next month after the public hearing for legislative approval.
Great. Thank you for that. Questions, comments on these? We'll take them one at a time, but on these two late resolutions.
How many meters are we gonna have, Kathy?
Approximately 8 additional meters to separate all the communities. I would also mention that it's timely, and we apologize for the lateness of the resolution, but it's because we are working very, very quickly. The map and plan was generated very quickly by our engineering firm, and because we are trying to make a grant application deadline, which is June 14th, which is instrumental to making this project possible.
Good. You read my mind. I was going to ask if time is of the essence. So,
Yes.
Yes, it sounds like it is.
And I'll also mention that our legislative chairman, Shagnon, has been very, very important to speeding this process along, and his support is very, very much appreciated by the district.
Very good.
He moved it from real late to late.
Oh, okay. We bumped it up. Well said.
Just in time.
Just in time. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Okay, we're going to take these one at a time. So the first one, in order, the secret notice to intent to serve as lead agency for the North Chautauqua County Water District Phase 3. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed and carried. And the second one, authorizing public hearing regarding third modification to map and plan for improvements in the North Chautauqua County Water District. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed and carried. Great. Thank you very much.
One more
And-
thing, if I may, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the very quick and expert service provided by Attorney Wright for these resolutions in the process.
Great, great. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
We appreciate that. And then the other late resolution that we are going to tackle right now, my understanding, is the resolution for the South Chautauqua Lake Sewer District lateral restrictions for agricultural district properties situated within the district Phase 2 boundary extension.
Yes, and to
Tom?
better inform you.
There, oh, we have handouts. Great,
Different than this one?
great.
And I believe then there's another page following.
All right. Maps.
You'll see following there.
Okay. Nice.
So I'm Tom Walsh, Director of the South and Center Stock Lake Sewer District. And the lateral restriction that you have in front of you is for 5 properties in the Phase 2 sewer extension. Of the 5, one of them already has an established residence on that, so they would be excluded from this lateral restriction. So it would then leave 4 properties that would have lateral restrictions. And the other part of this restriction is bullet point number 4. At some point, the land that we were discussing is no longer deemed agriculture, then these restrictions would be lifted.
Mr. Chairman, I can probably add a little bit to that since I sit on that board. This project is fully designed and it is in for review by the DEC and Army Corps and the Department of Ag and Markets. So this is a sticking point in getting the approval to proceed to construct this extension to the district. So this is, again, time is of the essence to get this accomplished so we don't hold up this project any longer in the review process. And I would also point out that really the intention of the Department of Agriculture and Markets is to preserve agricultural land, not to prevent development, but to make sure that any development that takes agricultural land out of production is done in a very thoughtful and efficient manner.
Thank you.
Appreciate that, Pierre. Thank you. Tom, thanks for giving us that information. So you mentioned that 4th bullet point. Has that ever been done before? And is that a process or is that an automatic once it's off that agricultural listing, it's an automatic?
So basically, it would follow that agriculture
Okay.
district. So this
Okay.
restriction would be following that agriculture
Okay.
district.
All right, so
Yep.
it's just automatic build-in, okay.
Yeah,
Which is-
so if the restriction of that ag district was lifted for development,
Mhm.
then the lateral restriction would be
Okay.
lifted as well.
Okay, all right. Questions, comments, concerns for Tom on this? Hearing and seeing none. Appreciate that. All in favor of the South Chautauqua Lake Sewer District lateral restrictions for agricultural district properties situated within District Phase 2 boundary extension proposal, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed and carried. All right.
Thank you very
Tom,
much.
thank you very much. I appreciate that. We still have a late resolution, but that, I believe, is related to our second presentation. So at this point, if I have the ability to do so, I'm going to ask Aaron to come on down. Aaron is here at my request, as suggested months ago by Pierre, just to give us an update on he'll give us an update, but a solid waste management plan that New York State has going on currently and how it may affect us now and or in the future. And he did tell me that he could speak up for hours about this. So let's just give him 2 or 3 and then we'll get antsy. So Aaron, if you are ready, you can take it away.
Yeah, Aaron Gustafson, Deputy Director of Public Facilities Environment, Landfill Manager. As Mr. Heiser said, he approached me to go over. New York State has just implemented an updated solid waste management plan in 2023. And I think there's some concern with what some people may have seen in it. So what I'm going to do is a real brief overview of what the plan says, and then I have a quick slide presentation of how it may or may not affect Chautauqua County. There's a lot of information. I'll try to go as fast as I can. I've been through it multiple times to try to trim it. There's 544 pages in the plan itself. We are not going to go through every page of that plan. But any further ado, we'll get going here. Can everyone see that okay to the degree? We'll just be touching on these points: executive summary, introduction, background, waste management, issues, challenges, opportunities, values, and visions, future of materials management in New York State, waste projections and goals for 2023 through 2032, and the quick conclusion. I'm just going to summarize all this so you guys know what the state's saying to us in it. Okay? Executive summary. If we read this first sentence, to protect communities and mitigate the worst effects of climate change in the 2023 New York State Solid Waste Management Plan builds upon sustained efforts to reduce waste and advance the New York State's transition to the circular economy. There it is. Climate change, environmental protection, a circular economy. That's the bulk of it. If you look at this chart here, they bring up some of the total state recycling rate. We'll get into that a little further down the road. Notice the 2018 year, okay, for a 2023 plan. And they break down the recycling into 43% of the total waste stream is being recycled currently, at least as of 2018. 32% landfilled, 17% exported, and 8% combusted. The state also shows a pounds per person per day. This is what each one of us is producing. In 2008, it was a little over 4 pounds per day per person, and if you can see, we're back there in 2018. We'll touch on that a little more down the road. Key accomplishments, the state here just lists some accomplishments from 2010. I will have those in the presentation later. We'll touch on them. There's some good stuff in here, and there's some average stuff in there. This portion talks about their vision, and I think this one right here, this 85% reduction in waste, is what Mr. Heiser saw and was concerned about. We will touch on this. I'll go into that more detail in the slide presentation. But their vision also has a realized circular economy. They have working together, of course, always part of their vision. Making waste a concept of the past. Climate endeavors and agendas. Making everyone accountable. Be fair in doing so. And of course, initiate sustainable markets. They have a few overview recommendations in this portion of the plan. Developing EPR for paper and packaging and more. EPR is extended producer responsibility. Expand and amending the existing food donations and food scrap recycling law. And requiring a per ton disposal disincentive fee. I don't know if some of you remember, we did sign a motion opposing that already. I don't see where that fits on the waste side of things. Some extended producer responsibilities, encouraging repairing broken products rather than throw away. Incentives for reusable and refillable products. Ban on disposable and unsold retail goods. Single-use product restrictions. C&D waste standard views. Minimum recycling content requirements. Expansion of rechargeable battery recycling law. That one is important to us in the landfill. And restrictions on harmful chemical use in consumer products. You're going to see a lot more of that in other aspects just besides the waste stream with, say, the PFAS stuff coming up. The introduction is where they're introducing their circular economy, of getting away from a linear economy. We'll get into more detail on that. Their plan format that this whole thing is revolved on is basically a stance. They're looking from a holistic state view, so across the state, the whole state, which can be kind of problematic considering there's a lot of different dynamics in the waste stream across the state, but we'll get into that a bit. Background on waste management in New York State. In this section, they do discuss a little why they stopped in 2018, and I'll get into that in our slide too. They give us some quick facts on the total waste stream, as in 42.2 million tons were produced in 2018 total for the state. Some quick facts on MSW waste, municipal solid waste. As in 2018, they produced 17.9 million tons. They give us a breakdown of what they feel is in the MSW stream as well. We'll get into that in greater detail. And some quick facts on construction and demolition debris. 18.4 million tons were produced in 2018. But here the state takes the total waste stream and they break it down in 4 categories: MSW, C&D waste, non-hazardous industrial waste, and biosolids. This is all the waste that we take in our landfill currently. Out of those 4 streams, excuse me, you can see C&D and MSW is the bulk of it. And the recycling rate for the total stream is still, it's up. It's got a small taper here in 2018, but it's certainly up from 2010. Now the state's going to focus on the fact that they recycled 43%, but they're still landfilling 32 and exporting 17 and 8. You saw this before. We're going to go on to municipal waste alone here. We're going to take one of those 4 categories. Let me draw your attention to this chart. This is the same, these are the same numbers that were in the vision. 32% paper and cardboard is in this percentage too. 17 food scraps, 14 plastics, so on and so forth. This is all what makes up the MSW material in New York State. And as you can see, MSW itself, these materials, their recycling rate is down, and it's trending down. The state likes to show this chart because this is collection of MSW. The New York State, the inside circle here is New York State without Region 2. Region 2 is New York City. So New York City greatly influenced the collection. As you can see, without New York City, 29% is municipal collection, 45% is privately collected, and 26% is municipally contracted. But if you add New York City in the mix of the total waste stream, MSW stream, 60% of the total state will be municipally collected, and 25% privately contracted, and 15% municipally contracted. It's because New York City effectively collects 12,000 tons per day of waste. They do a very nice job of picking up their waste. What they do with it, well, we'll get into that. C&D debris, the next of the 4 categories. This is what the state says is composed of C&D debris. You can actually see 35% is heavily concrete, asphalt, brick, rock, 27% soils and gravels. These are generally contaminated. And then wood is 15%. Some of these other minor percentages of metals are what can't be extrapolated out for recycling. The recycling rate for C&D is actually very good and has gotten a lot better. We still have a little downfall from 17 to 18. You'll see why in a little while. But 64% of the C&D in New York State, they say, is being recycled, which is a good thing. I find it odd that the combustion is only 1%, but we're still landfilling 26%. Industrial waste. This section talks about what is industrial waste in the state's eyes. Foundry sands, paper mill residue, food processing waste. If you look at their recycling rate, though, in industrial waste, it's really dropped off. We'll get into a little more detail on that, but this is a troublesome area for the state, and they really only give 1 page and a quarter over it. They do talk about some beneficial uses for it, and they give some charts for the beneficial uses, but at a small percentage of waste stream, they don't seem too concerned. Biosolids, the final section of waste out of the 4 categories. New York State is served by more than 600 water resource recovery facilities that treat approximately 2,400 million gallons of wastewater per day. And they generate 1.3 million total tons of biosolids annually. This recycling rate is poor at best. As you can see, there's only 2 years that it even increased from the year before. We'll get into some of this, why this is happening. This lists some of the facilities that are across the states handling waste. Transfer station facilities is 189. Landfill, MSW landfill, 25, which we are one of. And combustion thermal treatment plants, there's 11 of them, so waste incinerators. And all the others are just small other aspects of where waste is transferred, handled, and or maybe otherwise taken care of. Those are the big three I gave you. In 2018, the total landfill capacity is listed here. The state says we have 16 from 20 to 25 years of capacity left in our state. Don't be alarmed by this. That's just the permitting for that year. They certainly could issue more permits, issue more landfills, more waste energy plants if they feel they need to. This section here talks about disadvantaged communities and how the waste system is impacting on them. And then we're going to skip down here. Regional waste management variability. So this is what I was talking about. The state took a holistic view of the state. We're Region 9. 2 region is New York City. If you look across this chart, you can see the recycling rates are fairly similar, 19, 20, 66, 65. But once we get to the composition, MSW is not too far off, 46 to 49. C&D, 52 to 32. We're starting to separate, but our industrial wastes and our biosolids really start to change. So it's hard to take a holistic view across the region with some of those different dynamics. Some of the issues and challenges the state says we have are, of course, climate change is a driving factor. Throwaway culture, they want to make waste a thing of the past and change people's mindset. Global markets are and still have drastically affected our waste stream, as long as many other aspects of life. Information sharing and technology, we all need to just work together, is what the state's saying in this area. Fairness, equality must be part of the solution. Our ecosystems must not be impacted. And then emerging contaminant and sampling. This has to do with our PFAS, our 1,4-dioxanes. This is taking harmful chemicals out of the system so we don't have to deal with it at all. If you can see, we know a lot about this PFOS and PFOA stuff from dealings in Mayville. That's coming hard and fast to the waste stream, as well as the wastewater treatment stream as well. The state's values and visions. Our values are to serve as stewards of the environment and protect public health, strive for full public participation, fairness, environmental justice, and foster and development of a robust and dynamic sustainable materials economy. Their vision are what we went over early. We're not going to rehash them. To reduce waste by 85%, their circular economy. The state breaks down what they're going to do to 6 focus points: organics reduction and recycling, waste reduction and reuse, recycling and recycling market development and resiliency, advanced design and operation of solid waste management facilities, product stewardship and extended producer responsibility, toxic reduction in products. Of all of these 6 focus areas, each has 2 to 10 goals, and each of the goals has 1 to 7 items. We are not going through every one of them for your knowledge. I will touch on an overview of them so you guys get what the state's saying in them. We're going down, we're almost done with this portion of it. To part 7. The waste projections and goals for 2023 to 2032. I have this chart on our slides, but this is their goals. Look at MSW, C&D, industrial waste, and biosolids. 2018, we're at 19%. In 2050, they want to recycle 85%. C&D 64 to 85, industrial waste 29 to 85, biosolids 22 to 57. Pretty aggressive hopes and dreams. The pounds per person per day, they want to take from the 4.09 we have today, well, in 2018, and they want to change it to less than a pound a person. So the conclusion of this is the state in this area, in this section, reminds us how great they have done since 1988, that they've reduced recycling, that they've reduced the amount of landfills, and that we need to reduce the streams of waste that create emissions. They reiterate the 6 focus points, and then finally the state actually gives us their 3 main focus points of what they really want to push right here. They want to develop EPR and packaging and paper products, expand and amend existing food donation and food scrap recycling laws, and they want to require a per ton disposal disincentive surcharge. So that's it. The rest of this is all appendices. It goes into deeper, a little more information on that overview of what the state just said, okay? How is that going to affect Chautauqua County? This is what you guys really want to know, right? As you saw, the state plan pretty much addressed the past, kind of addressed the present, and then has some future aspirations. So how do we look at this? Well, let's look at the past. The past, 1960s, open dumping was commonplace. 1988, the Solid Waste Management Act was passed. The state recycle rate has come from 3% to 43%. Those are good numbers. Landfills have been reduced across the state from 1,800 unlined landfills to 25 MSW landfills and 10 MWCs, which are municipal waste combustors. Chautauqua County is taking their landfills from 49 down to 1 360 compliant landfill. Here's some of them accomplishments from 2010. How these affected Chautauqua County? $131.9 million in state grants. We've bought several trailers and we've bought a roll-off under this program. Well, we've gotten reimbursed for it. $20 million invested by DEC to establish materials management research. Last year I had Stony Brook over. They've done a waste assessment of our waste stream and our recycle stream. We don't have the results back, but we're eagerly waiting for them. Passed a polystyrene foam bill. I call it the styrofoam bill. So now none of your take-homes are in a styrofoam container so that you can microwave them and taste all those funky flavors. Unfortunately, that passed the buck to cardboard containers or plastic containers that are contaminated and then contaminate our recycle stream. Rechargeable battery law. That law is very important. We tend to have 3 to 4 fires in our landfill every year. The boys are very good at handling them. We're prepped for them. We isolate them. We have our own water truck. We take care of them. Out of all of those, 90% of them lately have been a rechargeable battery that should not be in our waste stream. So this is huge. It will continue to be big, and it needs more enforcement. Post-consumer paint care program. I'm just touching on some of these guys, but that's been a great program for Chautauqua County residents because now they don't have to wait to household hazardous waste days or try to dry up their paint. There's options for them to get rid of any of their paints or varnishes or shellacs now. They can take them back to Sherwin-Williams. Passage of consumer protection laws. Every single one of these are excellent laws trying to keep people safe. They're keeping the 1,4-dioxane out of your cosmetics. They're keeping PFAS and other harmful chemicals out of your children's toys. They're restricting PFAS in food packaging, restricting PFAS in apparel. These are all good laws and regulations that are helping everyone, not just Chautauqua County residents. And then comprehensive revision of New York State solid waste regulations. The state's ever trying to keep our landfills safer. Most of these are good regulations. Fortunately, some of them are going to come with cost because the newer ones will increase costs for building new cells, heavier, thicker liners, and there'll also be more testing and regulatory costs looking for some of these emerging contaminants. So, where are we at today? The present day, and I use present because the 2023 solid waste plan is only compiled up to 2018. We have all the data. We are required to report it on a yearly basis. In the plan on page 9 itself, they cite that they expect to see a dip in recyclables processed and recovers for 2019 and 2020. I suspect they say that because they've seen them. They cite China's national soil policy and COVID-19 for the 2019 and 2020 shortcomings. And why did they do this? Because all their charts would look like this if they hadn't done that. If they would extrapolate it out to 2023, you would see this drastic dip. Turn my page fast, excuse me. The state has missed the boat on most of the plan. There's no change in pounds per person per day. And that's because the average person is consuming twice as much as they did 50 years ago. You can have a 20% recycling rate, but if you're consuming twice as much, you're not gaining any ground, guys. What else? China's national sword policy. China's national sword policy required a 0.5% contamination rate on materials. This was, in the state's own word, unattainable. So it destroyed the market. Other issues creating problems with the markets, there's no pull on the other side of the markets. And there's limited producer incentive to utilize recycled materials. So what do I mean by that? Raw materials come in, people design and produce it. Retail, consumption, reuse, collection. Our landfills right here. We're sorting, landfilling, and then taking the rest to recycling. In my opinion, there should be another section here called markets. There's no pull. These designers aren't taking into any consideration to pull any of these materials. And the markets aren't here because there's no pull to take the materials. So we have a bottleneck and a stalemate here. There's nowhere to take these materials at all. This is a great idea, but there's some missing links right here. So let's go to the waste stream. Today's waste stream. I'm going to break it up the same the state did. MSW, C&D debris, non-hazardous industrial waste, and biosolids. These were the percentages, if you remember. 46% C&D, 54 MSW, 5 industrial, 4 biosolids. And here's the state's Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come chart that they're proposing. If you remember the 19 to 85, we went over those. We're going to look at each category and see how it may affect Chautauqua County. Here's our C&D waste category. If you remember, 64% of it was recycled. But 26 is still landfilled and not much is combusted. The state's answer as to how C&D recycling will reach 85% by 2050, page 16 of their plan. It is expected that recycling rates will continue to rise even as the amount of materials continue to increase. That's it. The statement is a cop-out. There's only mention of a couple categories of C&D waste in their goals and action plans, and these are just referencing better data collection, some composting support, and easier waste approvals. C&D is made up of 35% concrete, asphalt, rock. This is the biggest bulk of what is being recycled. There's some composting here, but most of this is being recycled as wrap and stuff, and your pavement, broken up in concrete, put back in concrete, and so on and so forth. Industrial waste. This chart dropped off. We saw how poor this was. This waste stream was way poor before even 2018. How is the state supposed to take the industrial waste stream from 29 to 85% recycle rate with a statement like this? And this is page 17 of the plan. It is challenged to obtain recycling data on this waste stream because it may be sent directly from the generator to another industry for use as feedstock, and this data is not required to be reported to DEC. Also, if waste from the industry is transported directly out of state for disposal without going through a transfer facility, the data is not readily available to DEC. Therefore, it is likely that the recovery and the total generation in this category is underreported in this plan. I don't even believe the 29% in this plan, to tell you the truth. There will be no change in this waste stream for a long, long time. Fortunately, the state does, however, in their goals and their action plans, try to get more and better data on the stream. But until that is obtained, it appears the state has no major plans for this stream, probably because it's only 3, 4, or 5%. Biosolids. Again, terrible recycle rate. As you can see, at least in the state's Field of Dreams chart, they recognize that this is a struggling waste stream by only projecting a recycling rate increase of up to 57% by 2050. Unfortunately, as soon as the state enforces its protocol on PFAS and biosolids, probably about 100% of it will be landfilled. At least until approved treatment methods are made and implemented to remove the PFAS at a huge cost to wastewater treatment plants and potentially us. We could end up having to do some leachate pretreatment. So I don't see any change in this stream because other than possible increase, but of course we don't have to take it because there's handling issues with too much of this. And we're already taking most of it locally anyways. MSW, I waited on this one for the last because this is a potential stream that could be impacted. Although the markets are poor, we do have markets for paper, cardboard, plastic, metals, and so on and so forth. And because this is an area of established market, and the recycling rates are low, you know the state's going to push these markets. So let's see what would happen if we were to reduce MSW by 85%. This is a list of our tonnage over the years, broken down MSW in different categories, C&D, industrial. I want to look at 2023 and just take a most recent example. In 2023, we took in 210,000 tons and change. Of that, 131,000 tons and change was MSW. What percent is that of our total tonnage? 62.35% of our total tonnage is MSW. If we're to take 85% of that MSW out of the waste stream locally, we would lose 53% of our waste stream to a tune of $4.2 million in change revenue loss at $38.04 a ton. But don't be dismayed. If we take it out, where would it go? Obviously, we'd have to recycle it. So, 2023, these are our recycling numbers. Out of the recyclables we sell, paper, cardboard, plastic, metals, tin, we made $106,000 at an average revenue of $54.39 a ton. If we take the state's model, 32% paper, 14% plastic, 7% metals, and apply it to the MSW that's being taken out, we would recover $3.2 million out of that waste that was taken out and recycled. Now that's still $1 million shortfall, but it's definitely better than a stick in the eye. But if we take it out, what would have to happen? Huge markets and market rates increase would have to be implemented, and they'd have to be sustainable. Otherwise, that waste is not coming out of the waste stream. If it does happen, it's very feasible to get the rates needed to recover the waste revenue loss from reduced MSW from the recyclables recovered from it. Remember, we had 54.39 revenue average coming in. To break even, we'd only need $71.78 a ton. That's the markets would easily, probably far exceed that type of revenue if they were sustainable and increased to the point to pull the MSW out of the waste stream. Okay? So, unfortunate part of the state's plan is they missed the boat on a lot of stuff. The state doesn't touch on 17% of the waste exported for disposal. They dropped the ball on this one. Exported waste from New York State has increased 5 times from it was 30 years ago. Waste Export is saying that solid waste is too noxious for my local environment, but not too noxious for your environment. It's the not in my backyard syndrome. 7 million tons of waste of MSW is sent out of state for disposal every year. That produces 155,000 tons of CO2 that would not be produced if waste was disposed of locally, either through trucking or through lesser regulated landfill systems. So what's the future have for us, guys? The state's goals and action plan, and this is the overview I was talking about, are to promote more educational programs, support more studies, support waste reduction solutions, incentivize waste reduction solution, obtaining data on industrial and commercial waste, supporting new legislations to reach the solid waste management plan, investigate and support leachate pretreatments, reducing methane-producing waste to landfills, further support chemical restrictions in products, support more EPR, support secondary market growth, support appropriate prohibitions and bans, expands the programs that are working, support a disposal disincentive surcharge, and better enforcement of current plans that are working. That is it in a nutshell of all those action plans and goals. They all reiterate some of these things. Although some of these are good, the bulk of them are intangible and empty promises. Some of the goals and actions have some weight, such as the EPR. I think that's a good avenue for the state to push. Get the producers involved. Enforcement of current programs that are working would be great. I'd like to see less and less rechargeable batteries in our waste stream. Unfortunately, the government cannot create or sustain markets. They can, however, incentivize them. So in the end, we make waste. Waste must be managed. New York State needs to strive for a circular economic model while embracing the stewardship of their waste more effectively. We all need to continue advocacy for waste reduction and recycling. The state must plan for safe management of all remaining waste. The state must adopt a policy for solid waste management self-sufficiency. New infrastructure is essential. Solid waste management facilities are part of environmental infrastructure. We need to embrace them. No different than a wastewater treatment plant or public water system. Waste to energy is also key. Waste to energy is a perfect fit for the state's climate action plan. New facilities are needed. So in conclusion, there's no worries. Chautauqua County has no imminent worries directly associated with state solid waste plan. We may even benefit if the state keeps tightening regulations on some of the non-compliant and unwanted waste facilities. It won't be good for the overall issue of the state. We could certainly be exporting more waste than ever, but potentially give Chautauqua County waste system some good sustainability in the future. Questions? I know that was a lot and fast. I don't see any emergent worries for the waste stream in Chautauqua County. Hopefully I showed you what the state's view of the waste stream is, what the reality of the waste stream is, and even if some of it is impactful of us, we're going to be just fine.
Aaron, thank you very much. You should have started with that first slide. That would have helped my blood pressure. Does anybody else have questions, comments? I wrote down a couple of notes. I did get a copy of the plan. I can't remember from who, perhaps yourself. That's something that is available from New York State.
Yep, I actually had it online.
Okay, then that's fine. And I mean, yeah, you went through everything that we had talked about, so thank you for the committee's patience and for you putting that together. And your excellent graphic designer with the raccoon, I appreciated that as well, so I could follow along. Questions, comments, for Aaron while he's sitting here in front of us, committee? Seeing or
Chairman, I'd
hearing?
like to make a comment that Chautauqua County, and in particular the legislature, should be very proud of our landfill manager. And his diligent efforts over the last several years to stay on top of this evolving recycling, solid waste management plan and the implications for the entire state, but most importantly, the implications for Chautauqua County. He's done an excellent job at staying abreast of this and being responsive to it.
Yes, good point. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for doing that, Aaron, and for coming in. So nothing else for you.